Assalamu alaikum. In this video, we will understand about the physiology of micturition, the excretion of urine, how it can hold and how it can release as excretion. So first of all, we will understand about the urinary system. This contain pair of kidney which that contain excretory unit is the nephron. This nephron contain a afferent arteriole will move blood toward the glomerulus and the Bowman capsule will filter an efferent arteriole for reabsorption of the waste. Again, proximal convoluted tubule, loop of Henle, distal convoluted tubule to collecting dirt to urine excrete into the ureter from the pelvis of the kidney. And in this way, ureter will lead to enter into the bladder, and the bladder will store either or excrete the urine into the urethra to the excretion. Excretion is known as voiding or pee. The internal sphincter muscle and external sphincter muscle is very important for the regulation of the excretion, either hold or release due to the contraction or relaxation basis. Prostate gland is very important whenever it is present in the male urinary system, and whenever it will be hyperplasia or swollen will lead to obstruct the urine. Detrusor muscles are present in the bladder, which that is important for the contraction and relaxation for on the basis of the excretion or holding of the urine in the bladder. This is voiding or pee. Let's understand about the female and male urinary system. The female is the different and shorter than the male. So remember, the female contain only the external sphincter muscle but not internal sphincter muscle. And on the other hand, the shorter female urethra is responsible for the infection quickly as compared to the male urinary infection. So this is the male. We will focus on the male excretory system. This male excretory system contain a receptor on the different side of the urinary system, like in the bladder, M3 receptor. This muscarinic receptor are present, and the B3, the beta adrenergic receptor are present, and the internal sphincter muscle contain a alpha 1 receptor, and external sphincter muscle contain a nicotinic receptor. This receptor is important for the stimulation through nervous system, and in this way the regulation of the urine holding or excretion whenever the bladder will fill with the urine should be excrete, and it is controlled by this receptor, and this receptor is controlled via a nervous system. Let's understand about the nervous system. Remember, the sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system is involved for the excretion regulation, and the sympathetic nervous system is used for the holding while the parasympathetic nervous system is voiding. This again I am describing the detrusor muscles, which that is used for the contraction and relaxation, and this is the urethra is used for opening and the excretion, the pee or voiding. So in this way, first we will understand also the nervous system, the brain, the central nervous system, and peripheral nervous system. Remember, the central nervous system is the brain and brain stem and spinal cord, while the peripheral nervous system is that which that arise the neuron from the central nervous system. This is the brain stem and brain. Brain stem contain midbrain, pons, and medulla. Cervical spinal cord, thoracic, lumbar, and sacrospinal cord are present on the region wise. And in this way, let's understand about the pudendal nerves. This pudendal nerve is the somatic and voluntary. It can control with our own will, and it contains acetylcholine neurotransmitter bound with a nicotinic receptor lead to contract the external sphincter muscle. And in this way, the contract the external sphincter muscle. In this way, our choice to prevent the voiding. and in this way it will contract when the urine will not move out or our own will. But on the other hand, this is the ganglion which that arise from the lumbar and sacral region, between the lumbar and sacral thoracic and lumbar region, and it is the hypogastric sympathetic nerve fiber, and arise with the branches as a for contraction with a beta 3 receptor, and it is the norepinephrine. This norepinephrine will lead to contract also the alpha 1 receptor, and beta 3 receptor will lead to relax the bladder for the storage of the more urine. But the alpha 1 receptor with the internal sphincter muscle will contract, will hold the urine. On the other hand, it is the blue color is showing that is the pelvic nerve, which that is the parasympathetic nervous system. And in this way, the acetylcholine neurotransmitter will bind with the M3 receptor to contract the bladder, and but it contracts the bladder, but the beta 3 receptor when activate will inhibit the contraction, and in this way the inhibition of the contraction, and vice versa. In this way, here you can see this is the efferent pelvic nerve, fourth nerve, which is a sensory pelvic nerve, and it is used for the stretch response. Whenever the stretch will response, and in this way it will be go into the basically it will be activate, and in this way the holding of the urine or stretching, which that will lead to give the signal for the pee out. The sympathetic nervous system is holding while the parasympathetic nervous system is used for the voiding. Let's understand about the empty and full bladder with the urine. So first we will understand about the empty bladder, and then we will understand about the full bladder and how our nervous system will control it, and then we will understand about the voiding. This is the nervous system which that contain higher brain cortex will give the signal toward the pons micturition center, and thoracic to the sacral region of the brain stem. In this way, here is the M3 receptor, B3 receptor, alpha 1 receptor, and nicotinic receptor are present in the urinary system on the basis of external internal sphincter muscle and retrusor muscle. Anyhow, this is a signal from the higher brain cortex during the empty bladder. In this way, it will target, and in this way, the thoracic region will stimulate the M3 receptor from the hypogastric nerves, which that is target to the beta 3 receptor and the M3 muscarinic receptor. And in this way, the beta 3 receptor will lead to basically during the empty bladder, which that will lead to inhibit the contraction of the bladder, while the pelvic nerves, and these are the pudendal nerves, which that will lead to hold due to the nicotinic receptor stimulation, while the pelvic nerve will inhibit the contraction of the bladder, and in this the pelvic nerve which that will be lead to inhibit the M3 receptor by the activation, and in this way you can see that this will lead to inhibition through beta 3 receptor to relax the bladder more and stretching of the bladder, and give the response via a stretching of the bladder to the slow impulse toward the sacral region of the spinal cord, and in this way it will be target to the thoracic region to regulate the hypogastric nerves for the less contraction of the bladder, and increase the urine with on the passage of time will lead to relax of the bladder muscle more. Internal sphincter muscle is also controlled, and in this way the internal sphincter muscle are still not controlling, but the external sphincter muscle will be controlled via a nicotinic receptor through pudendal nerves holding the urine. Let's understand about when the bladder will full with the urine. So in this way, whenever the urine will be full, with the bladder, so our own will can inhibit the voiding. So here is the midbrain. This is the pontine micturition center, while the higher brain cortex, thoracic region of the spinal cord, and sacral region of the spinal cord. This is the midbrain, the pontine micturition center, will give the signal toward the thoracic and sacral region of the spinal cord, and in this way, the inhibit the hypogastric sympathetic nerves, while the also inhibit the pudendal nerves. And in this way, when pudendal nerves inhibit, because the pudendal nerves is our control, so whenever it will be inhibit, but our own will stimulate to nicotinic receptor to contract the external sphincter muscle, will hold the urine. But whenever we will aging more, aged older person will not hold it easily. On the other hand, this is the blue color, is the pelvic nerve fiber, will be give the trigger and firing, which that will lead to beta 3 receptor stimulation, lead to inhibition of the stretching of the bladder wall, which that will feel the pain even when we will hold in longer period of time. And in this way, the hypogastric nerves will be inhibited. In this way, it will not target to the beta 3 receptor and the muscarinic receptor. Anyhow, when it will be inhibit the inhibition of the hypogastric nerves, which that will lead to increase the stretching of the bladder due to the contraction inhibition. And in this way, the more stretching will fill the more urine, whenever we will not want to excrete due to the nicotinic receptor stimulation with our own will, because it is autonomic, not autonomic, but voluntary. So the voluntary, in this way, here is you can see this is the cycle, and in this way the feedback mechanism, when we will not want to excrete the urine, so the pelvic nerve fiber will fire more, and hypogastric nerve will be inhibited through a pontine micturition center integration with the thoracic spinal cord. Anyhow, whenever we will pee out, the voiding how can occur? This is the pelvic nerve fast signal toward the sacral region of the spinal cord to move up into the thoracic region of the spinal cord to the midbrain, the pontine micturition center, and in this way it will give the feedback toward the thoracic and sacral region of the spinal cord, and the hypogastric nerves will also inhibit, remember, and in this way the muscarinic receptor and will not target basically alpha 1 and beta 3 receptor will not trigger, and in this way basically is the alpha 1 and beta 3 receptor not trigger through hypogastric nerves. But in this way, here you can see the pelvic nerve fiber will fire more to the M3 receptor to contract the bladder, and in this way, whenever we want, in this way the pudendal nerve, which that will not stimulate, and the nicotinic receptor will not bind with it, and in this way the relaxation of the external sphincter muscle will lead to pee out, and the contract of the bladder due to the M3 receptor stimulation through pelvic nerve fiber. And the pelvic nerve fiber, when stimulate the pudendal nerve inhibition, while the hypogastric nerve inhibition will lead to M3 receptor stimulation will lead to contract, because the hypogastric nerves is important for the stretching of the wall of the bladder, so it will not occur. So in this way the pee out is known as voiding. So I hope you make sense about that, the physiology of micturition, how it can occur. Remember, again, the sympathetic nervous system is used for the holding, and the parasympathetic nervous system is used for the voiding, and it is controlled via a pudendal nerves and the pelvic nerves, as well as the hypogastric nerves. Thanks for watching. If you like my video, please make sure to subscribe, like, and share. See you in the next video. For this time, bye.